Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're playing a battle here with Indie Pride, myself, and some AI just to mess around here on a cool map. This is an unfortified settlement map, which deploys in a bit of a choke point, so there are just two ways to cross it, which the AI is readily going to decide to defend in huge numbers in the face of Dawi artillery. But it is a very cool map, has a lot of kind of intricate things throughout, lots of little eye candy, these camps in the desert, ruins on all sides, and then the backdrop is absolutely splendid. I can't wait for the modders to get their hands on this kind of stuff and really make it so you can fight in and throughout the ruins like this. It's going to be super cool. Now in terms of what do we have in terms of, well, that's redundant. What do we have in terms of our deployment? Well, the AI, as I said, is going to be a big force stationed here up front. I just gave it a big Tomb King's army, and it is literally the legions of the undead raised up. Skeleton warriors, Nakara warriors, lots of just fodder infantry up to the front. And they do have a Tomb King sitting on his mount here. So he's a recently, I believe, revived lord, and perhaps his brains aren't quite what they used to be, his tactics not quite up to snuff, so he has positioned his forces right up here at the choke point in face of, as I said, the Dawi formations. They have tons of troops, Clan Angrun coming in here with a lot of these heavy dwarven warriors, looking very beautiful as always, and they do bring with them a flame cannon gun crew. And then Indie Pride has all his guys arrayed again into these beautiful ranks in depth here, coming up over the desert. And he has a lot of elite forces, Nor Grumlings, all these units, and especially important for the choke point here, some organ guns positioned on the flank. So that is going to be what's taking aim at our skeletons. We're going to put this on play real soon, just want to give you an overview. Now I'm holding back a lot of my guys for the second wind. I do want the AI to just throw itself at the dwarves, and then I will come with a bit of a refined approach. So we have Ushabti with great bows, basic Ushabti, a core of, I guess, a couple chariots in the back, then some archers, Nakara warriors, and some tomb guards, so some of the more elite variants. You'll be seeing them get ready. And in the center we have our little crew that's posing here for the cameras. A bunch of the constructs with a necrotech as well. And some buzzards flying overhead just for some atmospherics. We also have some necropolis knights. And the AI does also have its own bit of a hammer blow wing here. Chariots and Ushabti position with another tomb prince, this time on foot. So they'll probably get more done on that flank. But let's go ahead and watch as the Dawi artillery starts to take fire at the ranks of the recently resurrected dead here. And in their time, they don't quite remember the sound of cannonballs and black powder, so this is all very bizarre to them. Yeah, it's going to start punishing these ranks. He's going to start firing into some of the Tomb Guard, I believe, or the more elite versions with shields. They're going to start to crumble. That's going to trigger a bit of the AI and already start to get a health boost off. Coming out the dwarves. Let's see what this looks like from their perspective, as the organ gun crew has the easiest target practice of any battle they've ever engaged in. And we're already getting to like tier 2 or tier 3. But anyways, as those forces get underway, units are going to start to get into position. We have the flame cannon as well. Going to start peppering into those camps. Tons of damage being put on here. Let's watch this as it lands in and amongst the undead here. Oh god. Super brutal, and they're already on like the third tier here, taking so much damage early on, but that is what the AI is for in this choke point. So here they come finally. The canoptic jars here being shattered as they close with the dwarves. It's pretty cool. Let's watch the rear ranks, where you have a lot of these rangers and crossbowmen, etc., firing up over the mass. They've pre-calibrated this killing field, and oh my god, so much is coming in. Now with all that going on, there is a bit of a charge on this flank as well. Let's watch the punishment on this side as it hits a little bit harder against weaker numbers of Clan Angrun, with harder hitting units like the Ushabti, chariots also milling about. But there is a cannon in the rear, firing into this gun crew, or into this crew. It's pretty hard fought. Now, while the AI is just blowing through the front lines here, doing a little bit of damage here and there, some dwarf warriors, I have decided to come and lend some help with my Ushabti with great bows. Go ahead and watch these guys, always looking super glorious as they fire. and they're just going to unload on the ranks over here, and they do really well against dwarven units. So peppering some of the crossbows and some of the more elite units. Hit them in mass, lots of armor piercing. We're going to see these guys impaled in the sand. Pretty good. Buzzards also going to be sent in as well. They came over here to suppress some of the gun crew. They're doing a decent job at that. But with a little bit of friendly help with these quarrelers, they may be able to turn the tide, but this is going to be a great opportunity for me to fire right into the flank. The great bow is coming in. It should be able to just destroy these guys. Here come a volley. Yeah, lots of prime targets for our guys. But the fire is unending here on the front ranks. Let's hope the dwarves have their fireproof armor. It doesn't look like it, so they're going to be sacrificed into the maw of this combat. But this is pretty cool. So they're holding out fairly well. Some of our units are going to be repurposed on this side to help out. But overall, it's been quite the massacre. Iron Drakes as well. Going to be firing into this cluster of units. I'm going to retarget with my Ushabti to perhaps try and land some more valuable kills. But the Buzzards, the Carrion, have done their effects, killing off both of these organ guns. They are going to regroup, but at pretty low numbers. Now these Dwarf Warriors who are just standing about are going to start to feel the brunt of my guys. There are also some allied forces, Skeleton Archers, coming in here to reinforce. But not much left to help. This is a pretty cool scenario. I do very much enjoy kind of beating up the AI here, just for the eye candy of it all. And the dwarves make for very cinematic experiences. Very sturdy here as well. If you were to put some state troops up on the line in this choke point, probably shatter pretty easily. But the Hellstorm rocket battery would also give this clustered AI force a run for its money. Oh, and there is Dwarven Lord in the center. Just making mincemeat of these guys. And that's it for the defense. Over on this front, the chariots are exhausting their last 29 kills on them. Ushabti with 13, so maybe doing okay. But they're fighting Ironbreakers and Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Not going to get much effect done there. Although some Ushabti raised in the rear are penetrating through. So if anything, the AI is going to at least exhaust the enemy's ammo and kill some of its guns, which will make it a little bit easier for when my guys deploy. I've also pulled up with the Screaming Skull catapult. Now figuring is the time that I can get engaged. There's a little bit of petty rivalry, I guess, happening between the Tomb Kings, and I let my my recently awoken Tomb King kill himself because I didn't want him to threaten my areas. Ooh, Screaming Skulls there, always looking cool with their effects. And I'm going to be targeting the big clusters here. So now the dwarves are going to get a taste of their own medicine when it comes to the artillery bombardments. I only have one unit, but it's still going to get a lot done against these guys. And the front ranks, you can see here, have been pretty heavily exhausted. A Tomb King in the center on his horse, doing a lot to focus the enemy down. And now I've brought a lot of guys. The Ushabti bows are almost out of ammo, having used most of it on these very elite dwarves. And lots of damage being done here with these Screaming Skulls. Damn, dude. That's crazy. Let's see how many kills it has picked up. 27 so far, so not quite that impressive. But over here I did manage to sneak in with some Necropolis Knights once the enemy was distracted on the right-hand side. I'm going to come in here, and I figured I'd strike at the rear of this force. Super high mass on my guys, just steamrolling these dwarfs, but the satchel charges were saved for this point in time. So there we go. We'll see if the fire is enough to see me off. Dwarfs and everyone being thrown in all directions, snakes spitting venom, fires getting off, explosions going. This is insane. The Necropolis Light's pretty sturdy. And yeah, I did want to throw them in here because the dwarfs had their backs turned to us for just a brief second in time. Ooh, damn, Flame Cannon just hit that snake right on the face. Our guys are collapsing pretty quickly here. Let's see how many kills. 20 kills and 22 kills. So overall, not getting very much done. Starting to collapse some of these weakened Dwarven Warriors, but for the most part, not being a cost-effective trade at all. Which is fine. I have plenty to spare. I continue to bombard the strong elements. My Shabti, excuse me, here are out of ammo, starting to take some fire. I believe they were in danger of taking fire. So now I'm going to pull back to our side of the desert, the realm that is mine. We're not going to fight on the region that the dwarves have pre-sighted here, because we saw what happens when you do that. So like I said, I just threw in some units to do a little bit of damage, crack a couple dwarven warriors here and there, deplete their numbers, and now I'm going to beg or entreat them to come out to the deserts on our side, where I have a lot more units held in reserve. That being said, we do have some impetuous chariot drivers who aren't going to let an opportunity go to waste. And what they're noticing here is the enemy is weak. Front ranks have been pretty heavily depleted. All they have are some dwarf warriors who aren't going to be able to brace too much. They're trying to get back to their ranks, swapping out with some iron breakers, or no, just yeah. We're going to cut through here, so pretty glorious charge of the chariots in combination with some artillery to hit the ranks in the rear. This is going to be pretty good, and I do love the spearmen whacking at them on the sides. Do wish the chariots had some scythe blades on the flanks. Would be really good for mowing down these little guys, although perhaps they're short enough to fit under the scythes themselves, so maybe that's the reason we didn't equip them in this battle. But yeah, I'm going to continue to try and pull through these units, doing a fair amount of damage to these hammerers and front rank troops that have been pretty weakened, but now we're starting to get some solid massed troops in the back. But the more they mass, the more threat they are going to be, or at threat they're going to be from concentrated artillery fire. Crazy, crazy stuff. It looks actually pretty impressive, but I'm noticing when it hits the models, it's only 2 or 3 guys. Pretty good HP damage, I would assume, but not doing too much damage overall in the grand scheme of things. And to reinforce the chariots, the Ushabti, once their bows are out of ammo, we're going to go ahead and charge in and just do a little bit of damage to try and relieve our chariots. And now we're going to beat the retreat, but we are starting to crumble here. So here we go, sounding the retreat. Ushabti with the great bows with 105 kills on one of them, 121 on the other. The chariot here with 34, and yeah, oh god. But yeah, like I said, these guys are just meant here to knock the dwarves back, and you can see we're pretty close on doing away with a lot of these guys. This whole cluster of infantry is all down to a quarter or less amount of health. Really good fodder for the chariots, and in particular, our warriors in the back who have been waiting this whole time patiently. Nahakara warriors, huge anti-infantry guys with these monster swords, and behind them we have some bowmen. These guys are going to be great. Typically wouldn't be great against dwarves with a lot of armor and health, but those dwarven ranks up there with almost no health on them are going to be very juicy targets. And in the back, the Tomb Guard itself, still going to be held in reserve until the last minute. Same thing goes with some of my Nahakara horsemen. These guys are pretty good anti-infantry, also going to be held back in reserve. And then over here, again, our statues in the desert are going to wait for the time being. We'll see what the enemy has to counter this, and we do have a big force over here that we haven't quite looked at. A huge Slayer corps accompanying Ungrim Iron Fist himself. Gonna be monster slayers, and so they've caught out the great bows. I think I just saw that Ushabti fire an arrow point blank into that guy. But anyways, they're gonna be done off with. These slayers doing so much against them. So yeah, this is the main thing that I have to be worried about for our construct core. And so these guys are looking at them. They saw statues in the distance that are now here starting to move and make their way over. But let's watch the front ranks as the dwarves try and spot our catapult, which has now been caught out, but it's pretty much out of ammo. So it's just a tar pit or a trap for the dwarves, having them come in and just allowing our bows to fire straight into them. We've also caught one of the dwarven thanes here, I believe. Which one is that? Belgar? Yeah, Belgar himself on this flank, gonna start to take fire. And we do have the potential, yeah, with this Blessed Legion here to get some armor sundering against him, so that can be a fair amount of damage, plus also throwing some Ushabti against him. We could take him pretty low, although he's popping all sorts of abilities. Meanwhile, the main Dwarven line does start to reinforce itself, coming across the back. Some of the gun crew abandoning their equipment and coming out here, and they're going to hold the next pass, I believe. Yeah, summoning themselves on the hill, and most of their forces are going to be hastened over on this flank to face off against the constructs. Just a couple units on our side, but it's going to demand the attention of just so many of the dwarves and a lot of their most elite warriors. Quarrelers as well, going to start to fire into them. And we're going to move forward with 2 of the tomb scorpions. Just because they're pretty good against infantry. And they're going to go right into the teeth of the slayers, which isn't the best of moves, but they'll be able to, due to their combat animations, actually slice on through these guys pretty quick. Yeah, come out right through the back, which is pretty awesome, so we can pull them through the quarrelers. We're also going to get a clean charge with these, what are they called again? Skeleton Norsemen. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, so they're going to hammer an anvil into the backs of these quarrelers. The Tomb Scorpions have gotten through to the back. They're pulling the Longbeards and other forces with them, but now they're penetrating through into the rear here, into the quarrelers, which was always their intended effect. And I really like their dive animation, which allows them to literally go under units. So cool. Get at the juicy under ranks. And now the front lines are going to get hit by a bit more of our sturdy constructs, which the slayers are going to eagerly join into combat. But I do have in the back here a Necrotech that can heal them up once they start to take a lot of damage. And he's going to need that pretty soon, because these guys are taking a beating pretty handedly. But the health is back up top. Ungrim is going to try and focus fire on Settra the Imperishable here, who has been put on top of this Sphinx. Incantation, minus melee attack, minus melee defense, so lots of damage being done here. The rear lines being cut through by these pair of scorpions, doing tons of damage. The front lines that are engaged, the enemy doing pretty good against our archers, actually. So the archers pulled up and have been firing into the Dwarven ranks, but more resilient than we would have expected. Some of them are going to be dealing with our Nehekar warriors. These guys good against anti-infantry engagements, but not having much armor piercing against the dwarves is going to be a big detriment. And so we're going to throw in more of our guys. The Tomb Guards going to get a big healing buff that's going to allow them to get right on through this Quarreler fire and all that, but still taking a lot of damage here. They're going to have to close the distance. More dwarves going to be coming in here to hold the line. And now our bows can continue to fire after that healing wave. Going to still have some ranks firing into the units. Over on this flank, we do still have our Ushabti currently tied down against Belegar. Would have loved to have them perhaps go a little bit further into the mix to kill these units and help break the line, but we figured we wanted to kill off Belegar Ironhammer here, and it looks like we're going to get just that. He's exhausted from these Ushabti laying into him, not being able to move out. There he goes. He's on the ground, and with that, his warriors are likely to flee, but there he goes. He's actually coming back from routing somehow, not quite having had enough. But yeah, so we're dealing with these guys up through this flank. The War Sphinxes are continuing to do their work with the Necrotech buffing them, and he's having to dodge out of range of the enemy. But the Tomb Scorpions, ooh, and all kinds of spells being cast here as well by Settra. But both of our Tomb Scorpions gonna go down at the same time, tackled as they were by the elite with great weapons here. That's pretty good for the enemy. And we're having a bit of a duel here with Ungrim Iron Fist trying to take out Settra the Imperishable. We're going to knock him about, but he's a pretty sturdy guy. And the Quarrelers have reformed, going to be firing into me, so I have to be a little bit worried. Going to pull him out of that fight and try and relieve pressure on the front. We've been slammed into this Dwarven shield wall, so to speak. And we really need to break this to bring out our warriors to help die down the main lines. Well, here comes the big kitty. And Ungrim in close pursuit. Yeah, like I said, we definitely needed to break this main dwarven front. It's locking up a lot of our warriors who would love to be here to tie down these quarrelers, and they can surround these heavy Gremlin Guard and other units. These guys are having a good time against the War Sphinx, etc. But if I could swarm them with some of our anti-infantry, Tomb Guards, etc., they would probably go down a lot more easily. But the Cameroon War Sphinx doing a good job of at least holding out against half of the enemy force. Also, our bows are going to continue to focus fire on Ungrim, try and take him out. But our Settra unit has taken out a fair amount of the Dwarven line. But at this point, they've done their damage. The Nordgrumling Ironbreakers as well, thrown in here to hold back the Tomb Guard. And I'm going to have to toss in some of my guys who are out of ammo at this point into combat. But the Ushabti finally breaking on this side, killing the Longbeards, and they're going to wade into combat. I believe this should be enough. This is the armor piercing that we needed. And so we're going to free them up. Still a unit of bows left alive. And they're going to be firing into this basic unit of Dwarf Warriors who've decided to just stand on the hill. But you can see how much damage they're taking, catching a lot of those shots on their shield. But starting to crumble nonetheless. While this is going on, Settra is still in the back, being a constant nuisance over here. Cameroon War Sphinx is now finally crumbling. Looks like the Necrotect was doing its damage. And is actually taking on some hammers himself, so he had used his magic to try and revive these War Sphinxes previously, but alas, they're going to be taken out. So finally the enemy elite units down here with just a couple men left operating at like 10% of their value is going to come back and rejoin the fight in the center. But now we're finally starting to get the advantage with Settra pulled in, and these Ushabti. No Gremlings are going to be finally broken, and we'll see who else we have to deal with. These were actually Quarrelers, sorry, not Warriors that we were fighting. Those guys are going to be silenced, so looks like overall we are turning things around somewhat. Although the balance bar does start to favor Indy Pride. Troop count is in Indy's favor, which can be pretty bad for us because the Dwarven Warriors are going to be pound for pound much more powerful than our guys. But it's going to be a question about kind of a Lord engagement here. My guy's super low and would love to charge into some of these weakened units to thrash them, but Ungrim in the back, still alive, still doing work, and he's going to see to it that he personally banishes these Ushabti with one great hammer blow here. And there you go, shut him down. So one by one he's going to knock these porcelain statues away, and they're, well, in his eyes, going to be like porcelain, crumbling with a single blow there. Ooh, and another pretty damaging, I can't believe which vortex spell that is, but pretty cool. Did a decent amount of damage, but not as much. Most of it pirouetting into the sands there, although it is making a return to eat some of those dwarves alive. There you go, my Ushabti with just 4 men remaining, crumbling at this point, Ungrim having seen them off, and Settra here not seeming so imperishable with almost no health. I was thinking I would be able to, since he's mounted on a construct, heal Settra up using my Necrotech, but it turns out that ability only applies to pure Necrotech, pure construct forces, like the monsters. It doesn't apply to mounts for heroes. So that's an important thing to note, because that would be pretty powerful if you could buff up and heal your lord to that degree. Anyways, he's going to engage himself against these Slayers, and just the little units, try and see if he can get his charge animations to see them off, and it's working pretty well. But the problem here is these Dwarven Slayers have the ability to have quick blows, and boom, oh my god, that's quite the photo finish there, and they do land the finishing blow against Settra. So he's seen off. So pretty close fought battle, not necessarily the most strategic. As you saw, we let the basically the allied forces just pound each other to little pulps into that choke point. But then after that, once things expanded out, we got to see a little bit more of the cinematics as the dwarves got a bit impetuous and got tied down by the Tomb Kings in their areas. But I guess now that the dwarves have won, they'll be able to continue into the center here and perhaps plunder the city, come back with lots of buried treasure and gold. So that's it for this battle. Let's end the replay, take a look at the kills on our various forces. I don't expect too much from my allies' perspective. The AI here having deployed 3,400 men, and yeah, not too much being done by the skeleton warriors. Most they would have gotten is 8 kills. The rest, a lot actually done by the Ushabti. That's one of the units, if you're playing this more tactically, that you're going to want to bring against the Dwarves. Strong units, high armor, piercing damage. Great at cleaving through them, breaking through lines. Tomb Scorpion's probably pretty good. They can get focused down, as we saw, by Slayers, etc. But because of the animations and their speed, they can dive under units and get into the Correlers pretty well. But as a counter to that, you may be seeing some Dwarven Rangers being brought that can fire, but also handle themselves in melee. As for my guys, again, same story goes for the Ushabti. Lots of good kills on them. Screaming Skull Catapult, obviously using all its ammo with lots of kills. Khemerian War Sphinx doing well also. And the Archers actually doing better than the Infantry. Then again, I didn't bring that many Infantry Warriors. These guys were fighting against depleted troops and still weren't able to trade very cost effectively with the Dwarves. But yeah, just a fun battle nonetheless. Take a look at Indy Pride's forces. The sheer number of kills on his Iron Drakes firing away, 40 on one, 317 on the other. This organ gun, even though I shut it down within a couple minutes, still got 215 kills early on. Quarrelers, lots of damage. Even the basic Dwarven Warriors, you may want to just mass these against the Tomb Kings. They just are so sturdy and so reliable. And then perhaps bring Ungrim to and some Slayers to tie down enemy constructs. Take a look at the AI force. Again, not bringing too much, but for what he brought, 563 kills with the flame cannon. Absolutely insane. So that's it for this battle. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just some fun messing around until the game drops and we can play with you all in multiplayer, which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Peace out.